Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We are recapping Lalomanu Beach, episode 6. I am joined, as always, by Robbie Silliker and, of course, the confessional king, Alex Trias. All right, Robbie, let's get into this.
We start off with another classic Kyle moment. Worst case scenario. Dylan got sent home. Worst case scenario. I love it. And I don't love that Dylan got sent home. Let me correct that. But I love Kyle's, he cares, right? He cares so much about what's happening right now. And then we roll into Serena saying that she is shocked that she didn't know that Dylan had the idol, and that he would play it the way he did. Nikki says the same thing, shocked that Dylan had the idol, and that he would play it on her. She was 100% convinced that Eli had it and that the idol was gone. And then you see Morgan, who was shocked in a different way that she got votes, which is kind of an eye opener. Morgan didn't expect to get the votes at all. She's glad she used the idol. In the end, she didn't really need to. It would have tied and Morgan and Dylan would have been safe and it would have went to the wheel, but Morgan used it, which shows she's intelligent enough to find the idols, and knows when to play it because the votes went against her, even though that's not why she played it. And is a little bit worried now that maybe her target is growing. And she mentions that right off the start before we get to the immunity challenge, which is my plate is full.
Before
and this is where, sorry, go ahead.
Yep. We realize that everyone on Tapua loves Dylan and Dylan's their number one.
Yes. Yeah. Dylan was Serena's close alliance member, I think is how she words it. Yeah. Nikki says my number one. And obviously we saw Anthony and Dylan working together closely as well.
Yep. And Kyle, I think, mentioned it in a confessional somewhere as well. And like everyone is like, crap, Dylan's gone. What do? I have to find someone else.
Yeah, and the way Nikki says it too is almost like I forget the quote, but she says something along the lines of her and Dylan had were both getting what they needed from the other members. It was almost like Dylan said, okay, I'll go work with Anthony or Kyle, you go work with Serena, and then we'll be like a secret, alliance. We don't see that in the episode, but that's kind of the feeling I got from it. Yeah. But yeah, so back to the challenge. We got my plate is full, and it's really straightforward. You have 2 paper plates, you stack them on top of each other, and you have to balance ping pong balls on the top. And over time, you add more ping pong balls, and we see that we get to 3 ping pong balls, and that's not enough. So they got to go on one leg.
It would have lasted forever. That challenge was going. I was like, these guys are looking rock solid. All right, one leg, let's go.
Yeah, exactly. And, way before that happened, Serena and Morgan dropped right on the transition, I think, when they were adding the second ping pong ball. And that was pretty much lights out. But we see Greg again sticking in there, and he's right there at the end with Anthony. And eventually Greg just can't handle it and drops out.
Can't handle his balls.
Greg
yeah, the boxer briefs did not help.
Yeah, exactly. Boxer briefs. Yeah. He was the pun king during,
during that whole challenge had us. Just because people would say something like, "Oh, someone's balls are wobbling," and just
somebody being Alex
meaning to commentate challenge.
Yeah. I was literally just saying everything's on. Like, this is my Jeff Probst stream to just say ball jokes and try to pop McKenna. Like, I'm just trying to make McKenna break. And if I make the contestants break, even better.
Oh, you were gonna get me to break real easy. I wasn't trying to hold anything in. I was like, these are just here. All right, I'm gonna laugh.
But I was not expected when I was talking about, I'm like, oh, Kyle's balls swaying back and forth. They're going all over the place. And then Greg, just with the comedic timing, go, oh, boxer briefs can fix that, bud. I popped. I was just like, oh, no more from me. Greg has it.
Well, what distractions are a real threat, right? I mean, Lauren and I did a similar challenge in a different online game once, and we were balancing ping pong balls on top of a DVD case or a Blu-ray case or whatever it was. And we had, I think it was 3 on ours, and we were on one leg. And it went, I think, 45 or 50 minutes or something like that. We were standing there. And my mistake in that one was I didn't wear sneakers. I didn't wear shoes or anything. My foot was just killing me. She still would have crushed me, I think, but I could have done better. Anyway, I'm not bitter at all, as you can tell. But anyways, during that challenge, everybody else who had dropped out, because like I said, it was 45 minutes long, they were just talking away and joking about things and all this stuff. And it was so hard to stay focused. So jokes like that, you know, you can just forget a little bit, right? And drop. I don't know if that's why Greg ended up falling, but yeah. So we see Anthony.
We saw him like jumping and hopping all over the place.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. And so once again, Greg putting a little bit more of that target on himself. You know, Alex, you mentioned a little bit of the Aussie vibe before, and you see a little bit more of it here when it comes to the challenges. Again, Greg really trying to prove himself. Maybe a little late in the game to be trying to prove yourself and not win, because you're just saying, look, I'm good, but I'm not safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we get a new quote from Kyle, and it says that things are going to get desperate. And I think that is a really good way of summarizing Kyle's scramble round, you know, antics. Is right away he is ready to jump ship. He knows, because right now the Tapua members are down. There were 4 of them available to vote for, except for Anthony won. So that's not ideal. Worst case scenario.
Someone on his tribe won.
Worst case scenario.
Last round, worst case scenario was someone on the other tribe won. Now the worst case scenario is someone on his tribe wins.
Yeah, I love it. But once again, you can tell he cares, right? So he's going to put up a fight here. And, you know, he mentions in his confessional that he still wants to target Greg, but, you know, doesn't really necessarily see a way to do that at this point if there's no cracks, right? And very quickly after that, we see all of the women in the game in one room together. And
dangerous.
Nikki, exactly. And Nikki, in her very social manner, says, "Oh, look at this! All the women are here. We should make an all-girls alliance." And Serena again playing the naive card, which is starting to kill me, because it's hard, because it's working beautifully in a way, but on the other hand, it's hard to you know, take credit for something, but you're also not building a target. But in her naive manner, Serena says, "Oh, like, what are the numbers? You know what the numbers are." Okay. But so in her own way, she points out to the rest of everybody in the room, yeah, we're 5-4 right now. We can actually do this. And not only that, by Serena saying, "What is the breakdown?" I think is how she worded it. It gets people thinking it's not just a breakdown of men versus women here. Of the women, 3 of them are from the former Passia tribe, right? So even if this all-girls alliance happens, the Passia members, they don't lose their advantage. They're still technically up by 1, right? So that's a really sneaky way of saying, what's the ratio here? Yeah, and right away you see the wheels start turning on this potential all-girls alliance.
Yeah, and I definitely feel it benefits some more than others. Obviously, it benefits Serena and Nikki because it allows them to hop onto it, something new, gets them into a numbers and power position that at least get them through the next 3 to 4 rounds. If this were to happen and everything worked the way they wanted it to, and within that time, they could build bonds with at least one of the other tribes group to try to feel like who's the lowest on their totem pole, and let's scooch them over here. We now have the numbers, like, so you can plan ahead in that way, and that's brilliant thinking as like your last ditch attempt to try to keep yourself safe. I loved it. It was the correct way to go, I feel, for them in this situation.
Yeah, and who was it that said it? I believe it was Jackie that said, you know, I have options. And that is one of the most beautiful things to be able to say in a game like this, that, you know, she's keeping her options alive. And the fantastic or the flawless execution of the request of the Tapua women, you know, you can't overstate the fact that they were perfectly willing to vote one of the Tapua guys out. So not only did they say, women, we have the advantage, and Passia women, you still have the numbers advantage. Crazy. But on top of that, we'll still vote a Tapua member out.
Just next time, you know, you gotta vote a Passia out, and they could just be like, "Oh yes, we can." exactly, right. But once again, you just saw Greg, right?
show that he got second twice in a row. So that might sound good to some of them, especially when Morgan just mentioned a moment ago that she's worried about a target being on her back. Right. And Jackie in the previous episode had told Nikki and Serena that she planned on voting Dylan, and she proved that she was being honest about that by the fact that they voted Dylan. So you got to give it to Nikki and Serena for believing at least Jackie at this point, because at this point, Jackie had actually told them the truth about something that typically you wouldn't get from the other tribe. But something else I want to jump to here is the dynamic between Greg and Shea. The absolute level of overconfidence and borderline cockiness. We got to put a Han Solo meme in here. The level of confidence in Greg and Shea is insane. Just they're sitting back like mob boss godfathers in, Greg in his chair.
Strong to see is strong.
They are so confident that they are not at risk at all, to the point where when Greg meets with Kyle, and I think he meets with Anthony at one point, he says, well, I'll work with you, but just tell me who was your strongest person and we'll just vote them out. Just tell me who your strongest people are and we'll vote them out. And it's just such a ballsy kind of like, tell us who your best players are and we'll vote together to get them out.
Yeah.
You never do that, right? You always say like, who you working with? Who do you trust? Who do you think will work with us? Who do you want, whatever. Like, who's your best player? We'll just vote them out. It's that simple. We're so safe. We can just kind of throw that out there. That shocked me. I was like, wow.
But I also feel like they were using that as like, because you saw in the previous round, like the names that Greg in particular was looking at was Serena and Nikki, more so Nikki. But I feel like he was more trying to make them say Nikki's name as like another excuse to put Nikki's name down.
Sure.
Is like not because then he could, if he did get down, he could say to Nikki, like, it wasn't just my decision. Your tribe sold you out.
Yeah. And you see Kyle in one of these conversations with them, and they're asking Kyle, what do you think? Who should we go for? And Kyle tries to out Serena a little bit by saying, I think in the long run, Serena is going to be a bigger problem for you than me or Nikki are going to be, because of the way she goes about not talking when it's, would be disadvantageous to talk. And, pretty much playing the whole naive game we've been talking about, where it's like, I don't know what's going on. And I think at the beginning, I think that was a little bit more honest, but she's just riding that as far as she can, it seems at this point. And Greg and Shea, play it like, yeah, that's what we were thinking. But, I feel like they were just kind of just seeing what Kyle would say at that point and didn't necessarily want to give him too much information.
Yeah.
And then shortly after that, we see Brittley, spill the beans a little bit. She's talking with the group of the guys and saying, yeah, there's an all girls alliance that they're trying to get going. And I'm not going for that. And the guys don't seem to care. I think just because of the fact that Brittley mentions it, that they just kind of shrug it off. But once again, they're so overconfident that they hear about an alliance of 5 people that could be coming for them. And they're just like, man,
see it strong, Robbie. Come on.
Right. Like,
they have no reason to flip.
And just no reason. I keep getting second place in every challenge in an individual game, but I'm safe. Mocking Greg a little bit there, but, and Morgan agrees that they should target Nikki when she jumps in the room. And Anthony jumps in and one of the last things I'll mention about the pre-tribal is, I don't know what the relationship is between Anthony and Jackie, but he straight up says to Jackie in front of Nikki, are you willing to flip now? And it's just like, wow, that's a interesting way to approach that.
Anthony hosted Jackie.
Okay.
They
never played together.
They never played together. Anthony hosted her in a different org game.
Okay.
So that's as much as that relationship was. It was just so happens that Jackie was in a game that he hosted.
Yeah, or at least that's where they met, I guess. Like, we don't really know, I suppose.
Correct.
Okay. But yeah, that was a clear sign that they at least know each other. Whether they played together or not, I don't know. That doesn't seem like it at this point, but Anthony's definitely trying to. And we get to tribal council, and Morgan is just an absolute natural at this game, because when she gets asked a question, she just kind of gives another tribal loyalty answer, and it's sad how things happen in the wheel. We don't want to go there. And even when she played the idol, she didn't play it just for herself. She played it to give her tribe the numbers so that her tribe could win the wheel. And it was just perfect answer. And then you roll from that to Kyle on the opposite end of the spectrum saying, you know what, now's the time to position yourself for the future of the game. And it's not about tribes. It's about where we're going to be after this vote, and make sure you position yourself for the future. And if I was on Kyle's tribe, I'd be like, well, anything he just told me was a lie, because he's obviously working with the other group. I don't think it makes much of a difference, because everybody knew that it was going to be either, Serena, Nikki, or Kyle. And you see Anthony even says that. He says, those three names are the only people that are going to get votes.
Yeah, exactly. They all understood that going in. Yeah. So it was sort of like a cordial, like, good luck. We know we have to throw each other's names under the bus. It is what it is. So we need to go do this vote. But like a key thing we need to do before we get into like the actual what the votes came out to, we see though that the decision that Sia come up to is Kyle, or they're gonna use Kyle as a number to vote Nikki because they know he's gonna vote for Nikki. But there's a key person not in the room, so is unaware that's the decision made, and that's Jackie.
Yes. Well, and at one point too, you see Greg and Shea mentioned to Kyle to tell me a name you're going to vote for, and when we see a vote for that person, we'll know it was yours, and that just shows that you're being trustworthy. And he mentioned Serena, and really you would have almost expected him, if that's all you saw, to just vote for Serena, even if the rest weren't going there, just to prove that, like, you guys can all vote for whoever you want to vote for. I'll vote for Serena, and you'll just see that I was loyal by throwing my vote away.
Well, I mean, you would have had to, because the only votes that were 4 people were Kyle or Nikki, so they obviously would have to know you can't vote for yourself. So he did in fact vote for Nikki.
Oh no, for sure. Yeah. But what I'm saying is, in the room, they were saying that he should just throw a vote, even if it was for one of them, it wouldn't have mattered, just to show that, that's kind of what they were saying, was it doesn't matter who you vote for, just pick a guy. And then he says a person. He corrected himself, Shea. He's like, don't vote for a guy, because you can't vote for Anthony and you have to vote for yourself. So he was vote for a person, and he says Serena. And I guess we can get down to kind of how tricky the vote worked out. So we see that the vote comes out. Was it 4-5? I'm messing up.
It's a 5-4 vote.
It's a 5-4 vote where Jackie voted where she thought the women's alliance was going to be, and Jackie voted for Kyle, and so did the rest of the Tapua members except for Kyle, and everybody else in the game at this point voted for Nikki. And unfortunately for Nikki, that was a 5-4 split, and Nikki goes home. And we really have to mention a couple things that happen out of this, right? The fact that everyone's going to know that somebody from the Pasilla tribe voted for Kyle, right? Somebody didn't vote with the group, which meant that they actually voted with some other group of people, which really was the rest of the Tapua members. And I'm curious to see how Nikki plays this, because she could just say, I voted for Nikki. Just like everybody, and just straight up lie. I voted for Nikki. And then you're going to have 6 people saying they voted for Nikki, and someone's lying. And now we're back at our next immunity challenge, and you don't have time to think about it. And and just leave it like that. And it's a big mystery. And then try to weaponize that against somebody else. Maybe, that's what I would have done if I was there. I would have just straight up lied, said I voted for Nikki. And then, put it on Greg, or put it on Shea, or put it on somebody else. I just don't trust what they're doing. Greg kept talking about us all getting thrown under the bus, so it seemed like he was maybe ready to flip. I don't know.
I'll mention, because it's not really shown in the episode though, another avenue that could be taken for Jackie in this, if we cut right here at this spot, this is all we know. We know at this point from producing the game, Seal was very back and forth over which way they were going to go. because Greg was like more so leaning, let's get Nikki out, but you did have people saying, oh, let's just take Kyle out.
Mhm.
What does it matter? There's a
Yeah.
bunch of back and forth, and then it just so happens that a majority of them come together to the conclusion of Kyle, and not everyone's in the room. So you could
Yeah.
sort of play that off like, last time we were together, you said this name, so that's the name I did.
Yeah, and I think
like then you can move forward from there.
Yeah, and I think this is a huge strategic mistake on the in the case of Morgan, where she enters a room at one point in the prep in the scramble round, and says, they just told me Kyle, but I really want to go with Nikki. Whereas if Morgan would have just convinced those people to go for Kyle, or herself voted for Kyle, because it's still a Tapua member, right? Tapua is still losing somebody.
Yes.
Could have kept the guys. When I say guys, I mean like disguise of the Girls Alliance alive. And then let's say one of the women on the Tapua tribe, wins the next immunity idol, or the numbers just aren't working in a certain way, or whatever's happening, the Tapua members are now going to trust you, even if you're lying to them, because you just voted with them in this All Girls Alliance, and then you break it, right? And then you vote another Tapua member out. And it's just, I feel like they could have still gotten a member out, but we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, I also do wonder if any part of this decision had to go with the fact that of the Tapua side, Nikki was the one that got the clue last round. So it could have been just like, we were assuming she did not have the chance to figure out whatever she got. Let's just cut it and like nip it in the bud right now and prevent her from ever getting it. So then it increases our chance of discovering it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that could be it. I mean, I think who else got it? Anthony got it, and but he's safe anyway. And
then Brittley.
And Brittley got it, and she pretty much told everybody it was a riddle, and I don't know how to figure it out. Maybe we missed more of that. This didn't make the episode, but the last point I want to make about this is that the new rule about ties could have been weaponized a little bit here.
Yeah.
And if they could have just had a conversation with Kyle and said, Kyle, like if they could have somehow made Kyle throw a vote anywhere else and had it end up being a 4 tie against Kyle and against Nikki, the only person at risk on a wheel would have been Serena from the Tapua tribe, and then all 5 Pasia members.
It's hard. It's
like,
hard to
all
say
you have
that,
to do is move one vote. Do you know what I mean? And
but it's hard to say that though, because there's different factors in play here. In the scenario that they're believing, they believe they have their 5 girls going strong in voting out Kyle. Kyle has the impression that everyone's going to be putting their votes on Nikki. So like you have 2 separate sides that are having different separate votes. So then even if you came together and you have this conversation, you still can't quite believe it, because you in the back of your mind, even though you want to be working with each other the next round, you're going to be going, they could be just wanting me to put my vote out there so that they ensure I have the most votes, and then I'm gone. Like if Kyle throws his vote somewhere else, and the girls still had they actually did go women strong 5 votes, he's gone no matter what. So
and
it's like it would have been a ballsy move if Kyle himself went like, I just have to hope this is so much of a clusterfuck that no one's quite sure what to do. I throw my vote on Greg, just because I want to vote out Greg. I'm going to put Greg on paper, ends up being a 4-4, and it happens how you do. It would have been one of those, like, it would have been not calling him an idiot, but it's like those idiot savant moves where it's like, it just happens to work.
But you don't even have to have done it on purpose to necessarily engineer the tie. But a lot of times in games like this, where it's going to be such a tight vote, then it makes sense for somebody to go to Kyle the very last second, even if you're not trying to go for a tie, because Kyle's voting against either Serena or Nikki, right? Because that's the only people he has to vote for. And Kyle or Serena and Nikki are voting together. So it would have made sense for them to try to find him in the very last second, which you see in the real game a lot of times too, and just say, we have the numbers to get Greg. It just happened. We have an alliance with so-and-so. Trust us, be with us here, vote Greg, just to get his vote going somewhere. Like even just to try to get one less vote on you, right? Just to try to control it. And I think Kyle at this point, he wants, if he could, he would work with those people, his original tribe. He just doesn't feel like he can.
But if only they could think of those things in less than 20 minutes.
Yeah, it's not easy.
That's about
it takes special, like, it's very significantly special people to think on the moment 5 hours into a game, 5 6 hours into a game where you're already fatigued and stir crazy, just go, oh, okay, this is the perfect move here, guys.
Yeah. I feel like that would have been an Anthony move of, somebody who's been around the game a long time. When I say a long time, I mean, he's played before.
Yeah.
Right. And Kyle and Serena and whoever else hasn't played yet, this is their first go at it. So that's all I've got. It's a heck of an episode. There's so much we could talk about with this episode. We could go on all night, just because of the fact that it is getting insane. And, I'm hoping that we keep seeing some worst case scenario and best case scenario quotes from Kyle moving forward here, that he survived this vote.
All right. Well, coming up next, I will be joined by Lauren and Dennie, and of course, the one voted out, Nikki Tepp.
What's happening? We are now joined here by Nikki, who was recently voted out, along with Dennie, who comes with all the fiery questions, and my co-host, McKenna. Nikki, you were voted out, sadly. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm trying to deal with the heartbreak from the non-women's alliance.
Yes.
Thought we were going to have each other's back, but,
I tried that too, and Dennie put the kibosh on it. So it happens to the best of us.
I thought I was going to be the one person to make it happen. Going to make history.
Yes.
The women's alliance that actually went through.
Sadly, not the case.
No.
Oh, your dad, Bob Allen, was in the game. I want to know, would you have worked with him, or do you think he would have been bad for your game?
I guess it depends on where the game was, but obviously I'd be down to work with him. I knew he knew Carlo, so I feel like we could have made at least a 3-person alliance there. It depends, because I think he can maybe come off as loyal, so maybe people would want to work with him, but who knows? But yes, I would have been down to work with him.
You didn't want to slit his throat? You didn't want to slit his throat? Come on now.
Not in the beginning.
Was there a little bit of relief when you saw that he was gone, or were you just sad?
Sad. I was like, oh, I didn't get to play anymore, and we didn't get. I was hoping he'd make it at least to the merge.
At the merge, we saw they were at 5-5. If Bob was there, then they might not have had to deal with the whole idol situation.
Yes, I know. I think I could have obviously had him come over to our side, and we would have had more numbers, but that wasn't the case.
So we heard before the tribal where Dylan goes out, we heard Jackie mention Dylan's name to you. And
continue.
Go ahead.
So it was so funny, we're scrambling, and this is the last scramble room that me and Serena are in.
Mm-hmm.
So editing makes it look a little different, but this is the very last scramble room, and it's just before Lauren says, hey, time to go back to tribal. She's like, well, if you guys are down, write Dylan. And so much is going through your head already, what's what. We're prepared to go to rocks, and then I just forget about that. I don't know if you can talk during tribal anyway, but it's just and then Dylan's like, oh, I'm going to play an idol. It's like, oh, okay. Forgetting anything, that, oh, hey, if you want to, write Dylan. I just didn't even remember that. I'd be like, oh, no, you know what? Save that for you.
That's what I wondered, because I'm like, oh, if that's her number one in this game, why is she not saying, Dylan, no, you need to use that on yourself?
No, because it's just such a short span of time, and your mind is just everywhere. Mm-hmm. And then that went in one ear and went out the other, because I'm like, no, I'm not gonna write Dylan. Maybe we can work down, later on, and maybe get somebody from your tribe off. But I'm like, no, I'm not writing Dylan.
Right.
And so then it's oh, cool, Dylan has an idol. I didn't know you had an idol. Screw you, you didn't say anything. I don't know if you can see my face when I'm you could take shots in the amount of times that I said Eli had the idol, in a previous episode. I'm like, okay, we get it. You think Eli has an idol, great. But then it's I don't know.
Yeah,
It's just such a short span.
any scramble room that you were in that had a different group of people that you hadn't already told that Eli had the idol, then plus your confessional, I was like, oh, this is great.
Like when because it like edited in, I'm like, I think Eli has the idol. I'm like, we get it. You think Eli has the
I freaking loved that.
It
I
was
loved
good.
so much.
I was like, you
It
can
was
take
set up perfectly. Literally just perfect in sync. I loved it because
the second one too. When I
Brittley and Shea, I think, are in an alliance. They went off together.
and then it. I think Shea and Brittley are in an alliance. I'm like, I sure did say that, didn't I? Yes. When I said that,
That
I
was my next question, actually. I wanted to know why you were so vocal about that. I would have like kept that little tidbit to myself, maybe told one person that I felt really safe with, but
yeah.
not called Brittley out herself.
I couldn't like believe I did that. Like watching it back, it's funny when we went to tribal. I'm like, when she said she had to go get Shea and Brittley, I said to my team, I'm like, I wonder if that means Shea and Brittley are in an alliance. And I said that to them, my tribe. And then we go into these scramble rooms. And then when I go to scramble room with Shea and Brittley, I'm like, I literally say, I knew it. I knew you guys were in an alliance. And like, what? I'm like, oh, nothing. I'm like, why did I say that? And then I thought I would help my case, like with Jackie being in the room too. I'm like, oh, I was just trying to say, because you guys were in a room so long. I'm like, to try to maybe point out the alliance to Jackie and make her like want to work with us more. And like, it would help my case. I'm like, no, you should have just shut up.
so you're just the type of player that cannot hold your cards close at all. You have to tell everybody.
Well, that also made you, I guess, not the target, because we saw Shea saying in a scramble room, being like, no. If this goes to a wheel, we want Nikki eligible for the wheel.
Yeah.
And not to save her, because the person we choose, we have to be okay with them either going home or being safe from rocks.
Yes. No. My face like says it all. And my mouth. Oh man.
All right. Did you really want a women's alliance? And
yeah.
who did you like? Who would have been your first target in that? And who would you have wanted to sit with at the end at Final Tribal?
So obviously I was like really comfy with Serena because she was from my tribe. And then specifically from the women from the other tribe, I really liked Jackie. I really wanted to work with Jackie. Watching that episode over, I was so sad, like how much she like really did want to work with us. And I was like, I think that could have worked in our favor. And then my first target, I didn't get a whole lot of time to talk to Morgan or Brittley. So I guess one of them, I would have been okay, chopping off at the end.
Got it.
Once our women alliance, went through.
Yeah.
So you touched on this already, but I have to know, do you still think that Eli has the idol?
I guess no. I guess I just my brain stopped working when I saw Dylan pipe up. I'm like, oh, okay. And then he said, and I'm gonna play it for Nikki. I was like, oh, okay. So I'm like, oh, they must have been trying to vote for me. And then he got voted out. I was so sad.
Hey, maybe Eli actually has one too.
Maybe he still has one. We'll see.
Maybe it'll come out when his screen unfreezes. We'll never know.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Talk about kind of how you guys gelled in that pre-merge of you guys were on that high. We won 2 challenges in a row and then lost 2 challenges. How that dynamic kind of worked out. How did you start losing trust in certain people with the sit outs, that whole kind of thing?
So obviously we're super happy we won 2 challenges. We're just talking, getting to know each other. And then we lose 2 challenges. Then the other team gets to talk and know each other. And then we're trying to cut where we need to cut, Eli, obviously we voted off just because his internet was unreliable. Can't have that again. So we cut Eli. Second challenge was Carlo. And I know nobody brought it up a whole lot. But I'm sitting here during that charades challenge. I'm like, giraffe, please say giraffe,
Yes.
Yeah.
it's giraffe. Like,
You
I
guys
just
would
like,
have won that challenge. We talked about
Yeah.
it. We talked about it with Robbie, and he was
yes.
like, Carlo sat there for about 40 seconds, and then
Yep.
and the other tribe won by about 3.
Oh my
Like,
gosh. I know. And the whole game is like shoulda, coulda, woulda. It's like if we would have won that challenge, we would have went into the merge with the numbers. You
yeah,
can't think
Dylan
of-
would have had to play his idol.
Yes, he could have saved that idol from whatever the heck he wanted.
And actually played it on you when you were gonna get the votes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. But so then we voted Carlo. I don't know. I don't think he's a weaker player and any mind. It's just that was the next one that was kind of decided to go. And in the meanwhile, the other team is like making relationships and forming other alliances, Shea and Brittley, so so then we go in 5-5 and it's like we're tribe strong on either side, both confident we're going to rocks. And I've talked about it too, saying that if we would have voted for Greg, like I said.
Yeah, and like Dylan said also, because he was like, well, Morgan's played before.
Yeah. And then he just kind of rolled over. He's like, all right, we can vote for Morgan. I'm like, oh, no, okay. You don't want to like say, no. You don't want to be a leader, in any sort. So you're like, okay. But I keep thinking back, we would have voted for Greg. Dylan would have been tied with Greg. Morgan would have played an idol. And then I think at that point, then I would have had an idol played on me. And we would have had 2-2 safe on each side.
Yeah.
I don't know. We would have
and then you just go to the wheel and you see what happens. I do have to ask you though, can you talk about the chaos and intensity of scramble rooms? Because I don't think people realize, if they've never played our type of format before, how crazy and hectic it is.
It's crazy. So it's like, I think naturally at the merge, you kind of go into scramble rooms with your tribe. So then you're like, okay, so I think this person and the other tribe is talking, whatever. To be the person to break up a scramble room, that's hard. So like, I was like, oh, let me go see what the other tribe is saying. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to. I'm like, let's go a partner, it's hard. And then people are popping in and out. Like, I don't know if you can tell, like, with filming, like people like pause to see who comes in the room because you don't see right away. And you're like, oh, okay, Serena. So we were just saying like this or that, but I don't think you can fully appreciate that's what's going on under filming. Like, you're trying to pop into rooms, trying to talk to everybody. You have specific people in mind that you want to talk to, not in front of other people. And so it gets hard in the scramble rooms. And I think Anthony kind of touched on it before, like, hey, I want to talk to this person, but I don't want to be like, hey, come in this room with me, because that singles people out.
I think the perfect representation of the scramble rooms is the scene with Morgan, where she's in with like 3 people, someone gets pulled for a confessional, another person leaves, and then she's all alone, and then all of a sudden Greg joins.
She goes, oh,
that's the madness of our scramble rooms.
It is. It's crazy. People are moving rooms, hold for confessional, trying to keep your eyes to make sure somebody that you're talking about or somebody from another tribe isn't coming in the scramble room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's also interesting that you can see where other people are too.
So it took me a little bit actually to figure that out.
Nikki, I told everyone at the beginning of the game that you could see that.
It took me like a second, because I'm like, oh, if I like quick pop out, maybe they'll think I got pulled for a confessional. When my tribe was scrambling, I'm like, maybe I'll make them think I went to a confessional. I'm like, wait, idiot, like they can see whatever room you're in. So then I started using that for my advantage. I'm like, you're so dumb.
So do you consider yourself a hero in the game or a villain?
I guess a hero. I mean, I think anybody that votes Carlo off is probably a villain, but overall, I think I played like as a hero. Like, I try to like poker face, those couple tribe mates we had to vote off. I'm like, oh yeah. But then everybody else was doing it, but I don't think I extremely like was like a snake in the grass or anything. So I think I try to play as a hero. what you see is kind of like what you get.
Yeah, a very vocal person.
Too vocal. Okay.
Well, now you know for next time.
Yes. I hope to be back and I hope to learn from my mistakes. Yeah.
There you go, Lauren. Future season.
Oh, I know. I have a booklet, a docket with everyone's names written down. We'll rank them and see what happens later
Oh,
on.
everyone will want to see you back for sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was so fun. I had a lot of fun. I learned some lessons. It was so funny with the idol that probably Dylan got. I'm assuming Eli didn't get that idol.
No, Dylan kind of found it in the first challenge breakout room. So
I kept seeing your name change, but like I didn't like process what it said until later. I'm like, well, wait, it said DM for a clue. So I'm like, clue? Question mark.
yeah, and then I was
And then it said,
sorry.
So then I'm like, oh, and I'm like, do you do something else? I'm like, no, somebody already found the clue. And then it's so funny that Carlo says, look under the barrel.
To everyone.
Yes, to everybody. So that's how I felt very comfortable that Carlo did not have the idol, because I got that same thing.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
So describe your game in one word.
Newbie.
I would have said loud.
Loud.
Vocal.
Yes.
I would have said bubbly is what I would have used.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, very nice.
Social. Social is good to a point. I think I was too. I was just very excited to be here.
I think you might have been Eli's actual main target. I knew he threw out a lot of names, but I think Nikki was the name that he would have liked to go with, because you are that, like, everyone likes Nikki, and Dylan and Anthony were like, let's not do Nikki.
I know. Only I could have had that with the other tribe. Like, vote me out later.
Yeah.
Maybe when I got an idol or immunity. Yeah. No.
Well, I can't wait to see you play again. I know you're going to be back. And
Yes. I wish I could play the long season. I think I could do some damage in a long season.
I do too.
I don't think my work schedule will allow it. Like,
Let's just hope they don't watch this, so they don't see
Yeah.
you being like, I think I could have run the table.
cut it out.
yeah, a long game is better suited for very social players, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's really hard to connect socially.
Maybe not necessarily all social players, right, Denny?
Oh,
I don't know anything about it.
R.I.P.
Okay.
Okay, so I do have a question from Facebook from Robbie. I'm sure you might have checked it out.
Yeah.
But Robbie wants to know, with the new tie rules going to the wheel after one vote, did you guys ever think of getting Kyle to vote anywhere else? Engineering a tie would have sent 5 Pasilla versus 1 Tapua to the wheel of doom. Or were you 100% sold on the Girls Alliance?
So I read that question. I was very confused for a little bit. I'm still confused how only 1 Tapua would go, but I think he made a mistake and he meant 2 Tapua, because I still am trying to like think of it in my mind. I was pretty set, hopefully, of having a female alliance, because that would bring us all to the final 5. If everybody stuck with it. I was actually pretty confident that Anthony was also going to vote for me. So no, that like never crossed my mind, but that would have been genius. Like,
Anthony was immune that tribal council. So Serena would have been the only one on the wheel, because the votes were split between you and Kyle, Anthony and me, and then Serena would have been the only one on the
there
wheel.
we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I like couldn't make that out in my brain. I'm like, what?
Well, it's a lot to think about. You have to remember,
Yes.
because you don't have that much time really in
No.
these games. What people are seeing is an episode, so they think that you had a day to think about who you're voting out. You don't. You have 15 minutes, maybe, if that.
Yeah, if that. It was just funny how it worked out. Like, I popped in a room and it was all ladies. I'm like, hey,
All
ladies, wait a minute. And then it was brought up that we had the majority. I'm like, we sure do. Like, let's do something here. And it was funny. The only female that flipped was Jackie. So when I saw the vote, I was pretty confident that Brittley wasn't the only one that voted for us. And I was thinking that Brittley, like, because I called her out, I'm like, man, I shouldn't have done that. But watching back, I'm like, Jackie's the only one that did vote with us. So I keep thinking if I could have pulled another girl over or try to get Kyle to vote for somebody else. But
Yeah.
no, I mean, that didn't cross my mind because it's just so crazy fast.
Yeah, exactly. Like
I didn't know who's
around,
anybody. Yeah, you don't know who anybody's vote really is on. You know,
And-
like if you could like count on somebody's vote for sure, you know, then
and
maybe
each scramble round is a different time because it all depends on how much time people take up in confessionals. Because once confessionals are over, tribal council, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's how you guys do it?
Yeah,
Oh
that's
yeah.
how
Well,
we
I
do
mean, I
it.
give them like 30. So the last person that comes out of confessional, I give about 30 more seconds to a minute. So just in case they need to pop in and get maybe one last intel, then it's
Oh,
then
30
I just say,
seconds, very generous.
I know,
I
I'm
like to go
so
for
nice.
a minute, but yeah, but yeah, that's how we do it. Is just confessionals. Once confessionals are over, hey, tribal council, let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta keep this moving.
It's not a lot of time, especially to try to, you know, your head is constantly thinking different strategies. We're obviously down a member because Dylan is left, so you have to give and take somewhere. So I'm like willing to sacrifice, you know,
Who was
Kyle.
the ideal final three?
Poor Kyle.
who was my ideal final three.
Mhm.
I was hoping to go with Serena. Final three is so up in the air at that point. Like you're willing to work with so many different people to get to the end. I would have been okay with like me, Serena, and Jackie, or like me, Anthony, Serena. But what are the odds
Right.
when you're going in down numbers? You know, with a tribe that is, you know, an old tribe that was up numbers. You know, it's hard.
Understandable.
Yeah. But I really liked working with Serena. You know, she's from my tribe. And then, you know, I liked Anthony. He was somebody that I kind of aligned myself with from the beginning.
Yeah.
But there were some
It's
people I
not
was
as
willing to work
costly as
with.
Dylan.
Yeah. No, I mean, me and Dylan, we kind of like from the get go, we're like, yeah, let's like do something here. And then it was kind of like in my
Everyone
mind.
did that too. Everyone was like, Dylan's my number one.
Yeah. I want to be like, Dylan, was I really in like your alliance or was I in your alliance with everybody else? Were you cheating on alliances with me? You know? No, I mean, you have like an alliance and then like a backup an alliance, you know, so.
Yep.
Yeah, and then a backup to the backup. Like,
No, of course.
your brain is just constantly going. Like, you know, obviously I wanted to stick with my tribe, but it's like, if all of us ladies can do it, at least I can pull Serena with me. And then we agreed to try to cut off one of the other guys from the other tribes, so then Anthony would be safe for a little longer. So it all just depends on who wins immunity and stuff like that. So
For sure. Well, does anyone else have questions for Nikki? Or Nikki, do you have anything else that you want to touch on that we didn't get to?
no, I mean, I learned some things
Awesome.
from this game. It was great. I'd love to play again with new strategy.
New strategy.
Have some
Well, we can't
snacks.
wait to see it.
Yeah.
All right, Lauren, take us out.
Well, Nikki, thank you so much. You were a joy and a delight to have on the season. Sorry to see you go so soon, but guarantee at some point we'll probably see you back on our screen again. Thanks again to Dennie for all the great questions. As always, my co-host McKenna, you're wonderful. Good night, everyone.